So this is me just capturing some thoughts again. I don't really know too much what to make of it, just because it's like it goes into, gosh, every corner of our life, and it's just kind of popping up with all of the different contemplations I've had lately, just kind of popping up in a new way. And it has to do with falling, so I'm going to say it in very broad, loose terms, and then hopefully get down to something that is much more concise and much more not practical, but isn't reserved to like one realm of thought. And so it has to do with the notion of falling in love with someone's potential, and where that can kind of go is like if someone is continuously falling in love with their own potential or someone else's potential, or kind of give yourself space to like really think with this is or if you don't want to think, then don't think either, but if someone is always falling in love with potential, then they might be someone that also is thinking, why do the things that I give my energy to become projects? Like, why can't the things I give my energy to be, maybe not projects, but maybe, and not necessarily even get results? Why can't the things I give my energy to reciprocate in the moment? And so the notion with this is, if one is attached to potential, either one's own potential or someone else's potential, then everything that they do would have to be a project or an ongoing project, because there would be no possibility for it not to be a continued project. And again, this isn't to make any like diminishing statements about this mentality, but as a way of understanding what's going on around us, or what's going on in our relationships, or what's going on within us, just like kind of like tuning in with that a little bit. Because as much as we have this constant potential oriented mindset, we also have like the now moment oriented mindset. However, the now oriented mindset can become a part of or subsumed by the potential oriented. Like, I am hoping for the potential, or I have the potential that this person is going to be nowly present. Like, they're going to have presence in the now. And that is ignoring a lot of things. That's ignoring oneself. It's ignoring them. It's ignoring. And so if one is ignoring someone else in the process of hoping that they show up, one is ignoring what is showing up. And it's not even like, actions speak louder than words, or, believe what someone shows you, or kind of like a little pithy argument about how to characterize yourself or characterize others. It's actually just a mechanism of cognition. And because if we keep looking at it as a mechanism of behavior, intent, personality. Gosh, there's so many ways that it can be kind of like, and this is why it's complex, and that it's embroiled in everything. However, it's ineffectual at best. Well, maybe not at best. It can get results, but it can be extremely ineffectual, be somewhat futile, and the results are also not in a state of fulfillment, because the results are the act of potentials rather than the act of being. And again, we go back and forth in this all the time. And that's why I want to say it's not about diminishing the process of potentiation, because if I diminish the process of potentiation, then I'm also still ignoring what is with me. And so if I diminish potentiation, then that is ignorance. If I diminish actualization or actuality, then that is also ignorance. And so, and the thing is that it's somewhat of a dichotomy, because it's kind of like if you're going this direction, if you go 180 degrees, you're going the opposite direction. And so, but there are a lot of other ways that it goes. I still haven't kind of explored that mentally. But regardless, those are two prime suspects as to how things happen, or how things become distorted. And so again, it's not really a solution-oriented video or something, but just to explore the subject of getting lost in potentials. And it's by very few means of my own am I trying to realize this. And I'm also trying to understand it a little bit more deeply, so that when I am kind of, presented an opportunity to be at peace with both states, as well as to be lavender, it smells delicious, as well as to be coherent to what I see happening, and coherent to how I'm experiencing what's happening. And so it's just kind of like playing around with those notions. Let me kind of get back on track, or maybe a little bit closer to whatever track I was thinking I was on. Shoot, because I had something that made me want to pop off, and then I kind of lost it. Oh gosh. It had something to do with like how deeply interpersonal our connections can, how deeply skewed our interpersonal connections can be by maybe like overly focusing on someone's potential, rather than, because it's like if you're not focusing on their potential, for a lot of people it's like, well, there's nothing to focus on. And it's actually, oh shit, this is a good segue, is like focusing on your gratitude. And kind of for me, gratitude is something that it's a lot like love, it's a lot like a compliment, it's a lot like praise, it's a lot like a lot of really good things. So it's not to be poo-pooed at all. However, it can be a little bit challenging to force it, because there may be constraints, circumstantial constraints that maybe make it like you like certain beliefs. Like for me, one thing that came up was like, oh, I'm grateful for fear. And if I made fear an enemy, then I would both probably run the likelihood of experiencing it in an adverse way, and I'd run the likelihood um, of not being grateful, and that kind of seems like it's going to multiply whatever negative effects there are with gratitude, or with the human psyche. And so if I'm continuously multiplying negative effects and being an aspect of continuing that realm of contemplation in the psyche, then I'm kind of being a part of the problem. And that is, it's, I don't know, it's not, because we're all capable of that distortion. I'm not trying to make that like some kind of enemy or even something to be avoided, but it's just something that kind of comes up with gratitude. But yeah, so if I'm not focusing on someone's potential, then I can be focused on my gratitude for them. If I'm focused on my gratitude for them, I am like, there is very little possibility that I can, like, if I kind of maybe put 51% into that and 49% into everything else, then that'd be absolutely phenomenal. But there's a lot less likelihood of being overexposed to my own distortions or overexposed to my own delusions. And even in that exposure, that it will be as an aspect of gratitude. The challenge for me is that it's like, if I keep my gratitude silent, what does that look like? And I think that keeping gratitude silent could be probably as it could be as though it isn't there, right? Like, if I don't say I love you, is the love not there? If I don't say thank you, is the gratitude not there? And this is kind of, this gets into like passive aggressiveness as well, and other kind of ways of manipulating emotion and manipulating anything. So if the gratitude isn't there, or rather, if it could be thought that the gratitude isn't there because it's not being expressed, there's a thought that I had yesterday where it's like, for me to be in the expression of my gratitude as it's happening. What was it? There's something very unique about that. Really, I mean, that it gets me out of the potential. It gets me out of like it's not complimenting. It's not, I mean, it can be, and compliments are certainly something to have gratitude for, but it's not necessarily, it's not beholden to a compliment. It's not beholden to love. It's not beholden to a lot of things, and it enhances all of those things simultaneously. And so it kind of, what is it? It kind of, oddly enough, it's almost like spiritual bypassing, in that it kind of sidesteps some of the more chaotic self-knowings. It bypasses some of like the more chaotic ways that we negotiate our our personal psychological interaction, like personal psyche, and how we experience other people's psyche. And then to be done in a way that is very continuous, flowing, effortless, as well as acknowledged um, in the moment. Yeah, because that's what I'm trying to remember is like, what was it about acknowledging gratitude in the moment that was so special? I mean, it's something. What was it? Gosh, it was really fun. And I was surprised by how much it changed what I was thinking about as well. Yeah, and it was like, because it was also like, rather than getting lost in like, do I love this about this person or not, being able to just know to myself, well, certainly share, but to know, oh, this is an aspect of my gratitude. And it kind of, it frees up the other individual where they can experience the gratitude, they can experience the love that might be behind, like with, like mixed in with the gratitude, and they also don't have to be beholden to it themselves. And so, like, wow, I'm so like, if I say I love that you're sad, that's a real strong correlation. Whereas if I say to you, I'm grateful that you're sad, or I'm grateful that you're experiencing sadness, or I'm grateful that you have that sensitivity and that it might be playing a larger role in your awareness, so it's like to have gratitude for sadness rather than to like love the sadness, rather than to, I mean, and yeah, certainly like one can love the sadness as well, but there are things that it's like we might love but not be grateful for, because love is also can also be experienced in certain conditioned states. And I'm not really a big proponent of like unconditional love. If I would say anything about like the ultimate nature, absolute nature of love, it would be, you know, having an uncaused love, a love that is just uh, purely radiant and just being generated of itself. Um, and then it extends into everything else. So that would be the best, because it would be the epitome of unconditional love, and can also morph and change into conditioned love, or to meet the conditions that love ought to meet, or create a beneficial engagement, but uh, as an experience of love. So that would be, I lost the train on that one too. That would be one aspect of like how love could be beneficial, but not always the most beneficial thing for meeting a situation head on. And because it can be conditioned. And so if someone's love is conditioned to where it's like, oh, I love when you're sad, or I love that you're sad, then it's either I need to avoid sadness, I need to avoid this person, I need to avoid whatever, or I need to engage in sadness, or I need to engage with this person in order to get that love, Whereas if I'm grateful to it's so funny because it's like my gratitude for someone's sadness actually highlights their soul essence. Uh, like like not primarily, but it could be primarily. It's just it's an extension of their soul essence, as everything is. And in my gratitude, I'm connecting directly with that. And I'm connecting that with myself, I'm connecting that with them, I'm connecting with the situation. But again, yeah, it's when it goes unexpressed, when gratitude goes unexpressed, that's a very, I don't know, that seems to be a very it seems like it's almost passive aggressive. And one thing that I would kind of highlight with that is it's like, okay, so gratitude not being expressed. And not just like thank yous, because thank you, we can definitely be polite. Polite's great. Um, but the actual expression of gratitude, if it goes unexpressed, well, one thing that I saw yesterday when I was speaking about this and thinking about this was that gratitude is, because it's the precursor to a lot of things, it seems like it's also kind of like the precursor to power. And so people oftentimes, they want power and possibly power over others. But if I tell you, hey, I'm grateful for your power, or for the power you're giving me, then I can't take the role or position of uh, I guess I could still be disappointed, but then I know I'd be expressing gratitude anyway, so there wouldn't be disappointment. But if I'm like, so gratitude is the precursor to power. It's the precursor to many things that effectively become power. But to ignore it and to just be for the power is to ignore the foundation, the source of that power. And then if you're ignoring that, then you have to ignore the thing that is giving you the power. And if you're ignoring the thing that is giving you the power, then you are effectively in a place of abuse. And, and it's tough because it's like self-abuse, or this would be like all sorts of kinds of whatever, so that can snowball really quick. But just insofar as like, for it to be expressed means that it gives the power back to the soul essence. Like regardless of if there's like fair exchange or 1-to-1 or whatever the proportions or whatever, if gratitude isn't like corporeal, if it's not brought to flesh, then what the fuck are you doing? Like, I mean, yeah, like I understand like ultimate bliss and ultimate realization that's definitely very grateful for that. Um, but what are you doing if you're not expressing your gratitude? Like, gosh, hey, like, yeah, you cut off the nose to spite the face would be one phrase. Um, And again, I'm not saying to be grateful for negative things. Like I mentioned, gratitude for fear, but I'm not saying to be grateful for negative things, because that ain't it, Chief. If there is something to be thought on, if there's ever something that actually deserves our thought, this would be it, I do believe. Because so many things, maybe in effect, might not actually deserve our thought. But this, I know, can produce both momentary and, I don't know, permanent outcomes. The people that I know that are that I am grateful for, maybe not that I haven't been trying to be slow to tell them about my gratitude, because it's also not necessarily even an appreciation. Like, it is an appreciation, but it is not, it doesn't even have to be conditional upon appreciation. It can actually be, because for something to be appreciable, it may also come with the adage of a state of propriety. And gratitude can be something that exists without a state of propriety. And so I think it kind of, it kind of smooths out that rough patch as well. And I haven't ever heard people talk too much about this area of gratitude. I also haven't done like a bunch of research about it either. But that's, I mean, I guess that's somebody else's gig, somebody else's job or something. But for me, it really does come down to like the more mechanical, and I say that not facetiously, but I say that like as a loose definition of mechanism, because I don't like the term rationale, because anyone can have a rationality, but the rationale that we share can be trusted. And so that's why I say mechanical, because it's like, if I know this about gratitude and you know this about gratitude, I mean, it can be, we could just call it a shared rationale, but that kind of becomes it's a mechanism. It's a mechanism within the rationale, and it's a mechanism whether or not the rationale exists. One might not rationalize it like this, but it still exists. And so that's why I would describe it as a mechanism. And I'm sure there's an even better term for what I'm trying to describe in terms of like the operation, the function of a thing. But yeah, so it's like gratitude. Express your gratitude. And you could be grateful for the goofiest things. And in fact, the goofier the things that you're grateful for, the more you'll see your gratitude for yourself and the things around you and the people around you, and the more expressive you'll be of it. And the more expressive you are of it, the more sharing of a mental state that is, beside all else, very stabilizing. It's very stabilizing. And so that's kind of why it's like, oh yeah, like I'm grateful for fear, because fear, though it is destabilizing, can kind of get me into good situations or out of bad situations or whatever. And so it's like, oh, like, okay, that's kind of cool. But my gratitude for it allows me to have a stable relationship with that, and then actually build from that stability something that is a healthy relationship with fear. But all this, dang it, all this was talking about being in love with potential or not. being in love with someone's potential, or like, am I actually in love with the person or their potential? Oh. And maybe I already expressed this, but it bears repeating, is I might experience something about someone that's like, oh, that's so pleasant. And rather than expressing my gratitude to them in that moment, I take, oh, that is so pleasant, and I turn it into something that becomes a projected future that they're now beholden to as an expectation and standard for performance or behavior or whatever, where I could have just expressed, hey, I'm really grateful for that. Now the person knows, they know without a shadow of a doubt that's connected to love, to peacefulness, non-resentment, to full expression, to wholeness, to stability, to change if change is necessary. Like, oh, I'm really grateful for that. And then it's like, oh man, like maybe I'm not so grateful for this other thing, but it's a part of a more fluid um, psychological dynamic, and it's a little bit a part of the personality, but it's not full into it. It's heartfelt. It can be, well, should be heartfelt, but it's heartfelt, and so it's touching all of these different aspects simultaneously, uh, without, but and actually even honoring potential and honoring the moment. And so rather than, oh, like I see this, I'm grateful for it, but and and it's furthering the potential of love, but in furthering the potential of love, or being in love with potential, so that it's actually both the potential of love and in love with potential are it's not the same way forward and backward. Those are actually, they're two different things, and they could be three, four, they could be a whole bunch of different things just under that umbrella, or under those two umbrellas. And so uh yeah, to look at that, and like, so I'm going to honor that, but I'm also not going to be beholden to it. And it's not, not going to be beholden to it. It's that I'm in the whole expression of it. I'm in the wholeness of the expression of all these things. And, well, the wholeness and in the fulfillment, because it's being expressed as gratitude in the moment. Because like someone could be grateful for